Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Hi, I'm Mark Cleghorn. Welcome to the Photographer Academy, and we've got an exciting kind of first to some extent tonight. We're opening up our business to a new presenter with us, Adam Harris. I was lucky enough to meet Adam at a business convention a few months ago, and kind of went up to him, said, hi, really enjoyed it, kind of thing, fancy coming online and actually passing on some of your inspiration. And so Adam greatly agreed, or I'm not sure if he was forced into it. You never know with these things anyway. But welcome to Adam. We'll have a quick chat with him in a minute. So basically, as I said, I met Adam just what feels like only a couple of months ago, but I'm sure it's a lot longer than that. Adam, welcome on board.
Thank you, Mark.
Pleasure. We've had a quick chat before we get going, and you've had a busy day and I've had a busy day, so I'm sure you've been doing these webinars lots and lots over the years. Do you do many of these webinars as such?
Yeah, I've been in and around sort of the IT space for probably around about the last 15 years. Webinars over in North America are incredibly popular, only just sort of taking off over the last couple of years within Europe. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a veteran at these. So yes.
Me as well. We've been doing these for 4 years now, so it's amazing the kind of the uptake, and it's great that we can see so many people at different time zones as well with it. Okay, Adam, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself before you get going, or are you going to be using that during your presentation?
No, I'm more than happy to do it now. I will keep it brief. I would say to anybody, if after this webinar anybody does want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do a search for Adam Harris, and you'll probably find me with my picture, which you'll see on one of my slides. Originally qualified as a teacher, subsequently became a lecturer. So that was within business and IT. Worked for a supermarket here in the UK called Sainsbury's for about 10 years. Grew up through the trainee management program, and kind of questioned myself, like I'm sure a lot of the people on the call today, is I kind of walked around and found myself just being a number. I was working for somebody else and realised that actually now was the time that I wanted to control my own destiny. I've always been a grafter, loved working with people, highly motivated. So I decided to step out of working for a supermarket, and then decided to set up my own business. First business was an IT recycling company. We were going into large corporates, taking off their old infrastructure and then refurbing, refreshing, and putting back into kind of the small business market and the domestic market. Sold that to one of the big 4 recycling companies in the UK, and I was left with a team of 22 highly skilled engineers that could also communicate. So I decided my second business was an IT service and support company, which we grew to. We had 3 offices: Nottingham, Birmingham, Bristol, and my plan was to kind of grow that further. I ended up having a bit of a disagreement with my shareholder and director. Like a lot of people do, I wanted to go in one direction, which was growth. My business partner wanted to have a lifestyle business and just kind of run it with 3 or 4 people, both of which were fine, but it meant that actually we needed to kind of take a separate direction. So I then left, or stepped out of the business, became the chief exec of an IT trade association called the TCA, Technology Channels Association. Spent a couple of years building that up, and I merged it into a global association called CompTIA. And once that had completed, I found myself in a situation, again, like I'm sure a lot of people on the webinar will find, is that you're not really sure which way or which direction to go in. And I think, touching on my education background, it became quite clear that I had an ability, an empathy, and an understanding of how people run their business, but also some of the pains and the strifes that they go through. So I spend my time now working with businesses that want to grow. A lot of them have hit a bit of a glass ceiling, and they kind of need to crack it, smash through, and there's a number of different ways that can be done, and obviously I'm going to go through some of that today on the webinar.
Brilliant. Now, I know a lot of our members are one-man bands that we chatted about beforehand, but it's basically how you transfer this information into your business, whether you're a one-man band or, you know, running a company of 20 people or such, isn't it? I mean, I've always thought as a business leader, whether I was running a studio or as I am now with the Photographer Academy, the key thing is, you know, if you run a business like you're running a team, whether you're running yourself or not, you kind of allow yourself to have different hats on instead of just thinking that's you're just a one-man band running a show. You do have to really run a business, and to run a business, you have to run yourself, I think, when you're a one-man band as a team. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think one of the issues that a lot of the business coaches or mentors, inverted commas, state is that you know you need to be employing a team. At the end of the day, if you are, if it's you and you are the business, like you say, you have to wear different hats. That's from, you know, taking the photos. It's the pre and the post production. It's the meeting with the client. It's the client relationship management. It's the invoicing. It's the accounting. And those hats that you wear, you have to be first and foremost aware that you're wearing those different hats. But also, I think a lot of the times is that there are other stakeholders. They might not necessarily be employees, but you know, you might have somebody that's helping you out on a job, you know, working on the camera, you know, or just getting everybody in shot, etc. Your wife or your partner or your husband might be involved. You then might have, you know, other people. So I think the key thing that I would say is that as I'm going through this presentation, I think the key thing is to actually take a step back and reflect. I do have an A3 PDF which goes along to this, and I'm, you know, I'd be more than happy to kind of share that out afterwards. The kind of aim is to take a step back and spend, you know, the next hour reflecting, and you're saying, do you know what, I'm doing that really, really well, and I'm happy with that, but maybe I just need to tweak something a little bit further. Or do you know what, actually I'm not doing that as well as I could be doing. What's my action that I'm going to take on moving forward? So I would say that, you know, throughout any education or webinars that you attend or listen to, either webinar or face-to-face, I think the key thing is that you're kind of benchmarking yourself. You're looking at where you're at, but where you want to go to, and it's only the little things that you need to change. It's impossible to do everything all at once. You know, we haven't got time because we're all running our businesses. But actually, you know, for those that are on the webinar today, you're spending an hour, and this is you working on your business. You know, so if you can take one key action from this to then push forward, then that's brilliant. That will help you, and that will help your business grow and push forward.
Perfect. I think that's a good time for me to change across to you, Adam. I'm just going to give you the screen. I'm going to make you the presenter. That's perfect. I'm seeing your screen. Brilliant. And your presentation is just coming there. So, Adam, the only time you hear from me if I've got something burning or we've lost your sound or whatever. Otherwise, take it away.
Brilliant. Thanks, one of the things I didn't mention, Mark, was actually I have quite an affiliation with the photography and the film market. Probably for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, my brother started as a runner within the TV industry. And worked within it for about 12 years. So I've been in and around the TV and film industry for quite a while. And actually, one of the businesses that I own and run is a business called Airheads.biz, and we actually supply inflatable extras to the TV and film industry. So and within that, we've done quite a lot of shoots with photographers at various different locations when they're doing crowd scenes. Anyway, that's kind of by the by. Transmentum as a business, as kind of as I alluded to earlier, we spend our time working with growing businesses, and some of those businesses are very ambitious individuals that are one-man bands that are looking to seek or have got finance and want to grow their business forward. They need to potentially put a team together, build a management team. If they need to go out and secure the funding, then obviously the business plan, etc., either with the bank or private equity firms, etc., is important. We also, on the top end, I suppose the largest turnover business we deal with is probably 120 million. Again, with them, they've reached a bit of a glass ceiling. They need some external input and some support, and we kind of work with them to ensure that we go through. You can see at the bottom of the slide that we've kind of got four core aspects that we work from. Any work that we do has to be sustainable, and I would recommend that any time that you're looking at engaging with an external party, that the work that they do is sustainable. We work with transitioning businesses from, especially within the tech space, from what they call break-fix to managed services, the recurring revenue model, and I have worked with a couple of photography companies that are looking at more of a kind of recurring revenue base, which is a very interesting dynamic shift from kind of the normal sell it, do it, invoice, to getting people on kind of a recurring revenue, photography as a service. Definitely something that's worthwhile looking to. Momentum, obviously, it's important to gain traction and to push forward, and growth. And this presentation today is both my observations and observations of a number of colleagues and people that I have worked with over the years, about the 7 core tasks of the business leader. As I was discussing with Mark before, depending obviously on the size of the business, some of these are going to be more applicable to others. Depending on your personality and your character, again, some of these that you may well go, yeah, that's me, or that's not me. The main thing that I would say for the presentation is to take that step back and just spend some time thinking. Okay, so who are we? When I was looking at starting this business, probably like a lot of you, is that actually the opportunity arose. I decided that I wanted to step out. I was doing a lot of work for a lot of IT software vendors that wanted to break into the European market. I realised that whilst I had a lot of skills myself, actually one of the things is that in order to build a large or big sustainable business, is that I needed to bring in some other external people who had skills and expertise that I didn't. And I think that that's probably one of the first things, is to identify the things that you're good at and surround yourself with the people that are better at the things that you're not. That's for me, is one of the signs of a true leader. If you can surround yourself with people that are better than you, actually what you then end up doing is you become the guy that's running the orchestra. And a lot of the times that's how I feel. My skills are specifically as a facilitator. I spend a lot of my time doing online and presentations. I do a lot of emceeing for a lot of banks and building societies at a lot of their events, adding value. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've been there, I've done it, I've got the t-shirt, I've got the war wounds. I probably could do a whole webinar just on the troubles and the strifes that I as an entrepreneur have been through. But most importantly, my role is as a coach. I spend my time working with chief execs, MDs, business owners, and I ask the questions that nobody else will. Obviously, I need the permission of the individual, but my role is very much to shine a mirror up in front of somebody's face and go, do you know what? Is that the right decision? Did you make the right decision? How are you going to show up at this point? What are you going to do differently? So that challenging aspect helps a lot of people in being able to push themselves and grow themselves and their business moving forward. You can see a couple of my other directors here. Paul is a strategist and a marketing expert, and Steve very much comes from a sales perspective. Both of these guys have got a huge amount of corporate experience. Colt Telecom, Carphone Warehouse, Siemens Telecoms, Via Networks, a lot of large companies that they've worked with. So they've taken a large amount of that corporate experience and bringing it into the realms of kind of the smaller independent businesses. One of the things that is important with us, and I'm sure is important with a lot of people on the session today, is actually we're very, very aware of where our skill sets sit. And actually what we do is we've got a number of people that are our delivery partners. So when we're in working with our clients, what we're looking at is we're looking at people that can do delivery, that can do things for us that are specific within their expertise, but also have got experience within the tech and the creative space. So it allows us to drop in or parachute in the expertise that is needed when and where. Okay, so 7 core tasks of the business leader. One of the actual first thing is to be able to understand the numbers. A lot of you will probably watch, The Apprentice with Alan Sugar, and one of the things that he's always asking, when it gets to the boardroom states, is, okay, so what are your numbers? I'm not really fussed as to what's happened, but tell me how much you sold, what was your margin, etc., etc. So I think and even if this is the case that you're running your own business and it's just you, understanding your numbers is incredibly important. One of the things that typically a lot of entrepreneurs do, or people that aren't necessarily financially based, is that they tend to hide behind their accountant. It's very easy to get them to do the end-of-year accounts, the various bits and pieces, and or the FD or the finance controller. They're the ones that are producing the figures, so it's their job and it's their responsibility. As the business owner, it's absolutely fundamentally your responsibility. If you know about your accounts as to what you've got coming in, it allows you to have a clearer objective, and allows you to be very, very clear as to what you've done, what you've got, and where you're heading. And if your business is of sufficient size and you want to have management accounts, it allows you to look at them trends, and especially if you're looking to grow your business, you need to be looking at the history, you need to be looking at the financial basis and the numbers, and then looking at the other aspects to move forward. If I turned around to anybody in a call and said, right, I want you to spend £10,000 on an exhibition, you're then going to turn around to me and say, okay, so what's the return on investment? If we spend £10,000, is how many leads or how many referrals are we going to get coming through? What's our conversion rate? What's the margin that we're working on? Now, if you're a photographer and you're charging, your day rate is £300 and your margin is 100, and you're only going to get 3 leads out of a £10,000 show, it's not going to be worth it. If you're a bigger business and actually your jobs are £20,000 and you're going to get 3 opportunities and the chances of your conversion is going to be 2 out of the 3, then actually you look at it and you go, well, actually we can justify, or there's a greater opportunity to justify. So understanding your numbers within your business is very, very key and important. And I kind of specialize it under the 3 C's: cash, credit, and costs. So at any one time, how much cash do you need? What's your cash flow situation? If you're keeping an eye and a monitor on it, you shouldn't get to the stage of having to ring the bank or ring the accountant and go, we're in this current situation. So if you're aware and understanding how much cash you've got available to you, again, very important. Credit. What credit have you got that's available to you? Do you need to have those the credit lines increased? It may well be the case, and one of the things that I say to a lot of people is, if you ring your bank manager when you've got a problem, then they know that you've got a problem. If you have a relationship with your bank manager and you're keeping the lines of communication open and you're telling them when you're doing well, and then you then come around to saying, look, this is where we're at. I don't think I'm going to need the credit, but it would be nice to have anyway. Let's talk about the fallback. Let's talk about option B, C, and D before it actually happens. Banks are so much more likely to support you if they know more information than if you go into them with a fire sale going, look, I've had this person go bust to me, or this situation has happened. I need to be very, very clear. Costs are obviously very important as well. If you're aware of what your costs are, then it also allows you to understand how many jobs that you need to hit to break even each month. Being fully aware of being able to plan and push forward. That then allows you to then be planning better from a sales and marketing perspective, and allows you to kind of make the right decisions. One of the other things that is potentially also important is to have KPIs and dashboards. If you, and a lot of people now are using what they call 12-month trailing charts. So if you take today somebody will have the previous 12 months history, and they'll have the projection for the coming 12 months. So what that allows you to do is that if you know that December is going to be a bad month, at least you can see where you're tracking from current year to last year. So it just gives you a greater idea of visibility, so that if you do need to make any decisions, you can make the right decisions at the right time. The interesting thing is, and I've spoken a lot about this subject before to a lot of people, I myself, I struggle, to be honest, with numbers. So what actually is important is to find the right numbers which are going to work for you. You don't, if you're an accountant or an FD, or you've got a finance background, then understanding all the measures and everything in front of you is going to be easy. If you're not necessary from that background, just having a few key ideas is going to be able to give you a throughput. So it may well be number of referrals from each photo shoot. And if you're hitting the average of 3 or 4, then things are going well. If you're getting more, is it that it's a higher or a better quality client? Or if it's the case that you're not getting that, is there any particular why? So you need to make them real and forward-looking, and you need to make them so that you understand the measures behind it, so that you're aware of it. I know from spending a lot of time with photographers that referrals are an incredible part of your business. The question that I would ask you all is, have you got a way of tracking them? So yes, you could probably tell me that I did this job which came off the back of this job and this job and this job. But are you sending small little thank yous at Christmas or at birthdays or wedding anniversaries? Just think, if you are a domestic photographer and you did a wedding 5 years ago, if you were, the day they got married, if you were to send them an anniversary card, just checking in with them each year, again, it's then going to be front of mind. You never know who else's wedding or who else that they know that's going to be getting married. So having some parameters or some KPIs in place is going to be important. One of the speakers that I saw over in the US probably about 4 years ago spoke about a make or break. What's the one key number within your business that you need to make sure that you're hitting that month on month? It may well be number of events exhibited at. It may be about the number of jobs that you've done. There can be a million different things, but you need to find your make or break, that on a monthly basis or a weekly or a daily basis, that as long as you're hitting that you're going to get the work that you need, and you're going to be able to grow or sustain the business in the way that you need to. So 12-month charts. The interesting thing is it will remove seasonality. It will remove short-term reactions. So one of the things that a lot of business owners do is that the proverbial hits the fan and they go into fight or flight mode. So they react because something, either a bad debt or a member of staff has left them, or they've had a bad customer. So they instantly go into a fight or flight mode and make some drastic decisions with regards to their business. Whereas actually, if they're able to have a bit more of a helicopter approach and be able to take that reflective step back and go, do you know what, we have been hit, and this is a bit of bad news, but let's just hold fire, let's just take a step back and just see where we are in the grand scheme of things and compared to everything else. Looking at what's happened, but also look about what's going to be happening will be very, very key. The interesting thing is it will show real trends rather than you kind of having a gut feel, which obviously is important. This will just highlight and reinforce what you probably think that you already know, and just give you the satisfaction and the clarification that the decisions that you're making are going to be very, very key moving forward. And obviously with a lot of things is that it's quite simple, is that if the trailing chart is moving in the right direction, upwards, then things are looking good. If things are going downwards, then obviously that means that you need to be looking in particular areas. It may well be that your sales have dropped off, it may well be your marketing, there could be a load of different things, but actually by taking that wider perspective will give you that important viewpoint. Okay, so understanding the risks. Especially when you know it's your business and you're the owner or you're a sole trader, you are the eyes of the business. You know, you need to be knowing what's going on, what's not going on, what's working, what's not working, thinking about new and innovative ways of being different. You know, how are you staying ahead of the game? You know, for a lot of you, you're going to be in very commoditized markets, or you know, and those markets where may well be you know, geographic. So, what is it that you're doing that your competition aren't? You know, and it comes back to, you know, are you sending that anniversary card through to your previous customer year on year? You know, are you sending them a bunch of flowers? You know, think about some of the small little things that are going to make the difference. Because actually, if you can find those tools and those angles in those areas, everybody these days, or most people, will do very, very good jobs. One of the interesting things that that I've always found with in the photography space is being aware of what you're good at, and actually also being aware of what you're not good at. And actually, if you get offered some work in an area that you're not particularly strong at, is about having the key contacts in the other areas to be able to recommend in. You'll get a huge amount more credibility with the customer or the prospect. You'll then build a rapport and a relationship with the person that you're referring into, and actually what you will end up potentially finding is that actually you may end up getting some reciprocal business. Again, this takes some time to work through and understand you know, who else you've got within your marketplace. Not necessarily relevant within the photography space, but legislation. I suppose not necessarily from a legislation perspective, but you know, who owns the copyright to the pictures? You know, again, I know that this is a contentious issue with a lot of people. Whichever way you work, as long as you're honest and upfront with the customer, as long as they don't feel as if you've been, you know, they've had the wool pulled over their eyes, then it's not a problem. And I know that in some circumstances there's a need to hold on to the copyright. That's fine, as long as the customer is aware of it. You know, the question that I would have for all of you is, do you have terms and conditions? You know, if you do a job and it goes wrong, you know, what's the permutation for you? What's the permutation for the client? You know, the other thing that's important is, do you have professional indemnity insurance? You know, making sure that you've got yourselves covered. Now, for a lot of people, these are basics, but actually they're very fundamentally important, especially when you're dealing within the business space. You'd be amazed how many times I would meet or still speak to suppliers that want to offer me a professional service, but they are not running a professional business. So ask yourself the question as to which side of the fence do you sit on. Whichever one, it's not a problem, but as long as you're doing what you know that you think and you need to be doing. What are your customers thinking? You know, be very, very clear in asking them what they need, what they want. You know, put yourself in the customer's shoes and understand, you know, if things go wrong, where's my get out? What's my cover? And actually, as part of your sales or your pitch to them, if you're able to communicate those issues through, then you're going to fill them with comfort. Where do you get your information? Obviously, you know, all you guys are obviously part of the academy with Mark. Brilliant that you're spending the time looking at improving yourself and your business to push forward. Find yourselves, obviously this is an industry-specific space, maybe find other people that you respect and trust within your business community that can help you stay ahead of the game and give you some information. Create the vision, set the direction. Okay, so do you have a vision or just a financial plan? One of the key things when I work with a lot of business owners is saying, okay, in X number of years' time, where do you see your business? And for a lot of them, it's related to a financial goal. That might be sales, it might be turnover, it might be profit, it might be I want X number of pounds sitting in the bank. But actually one of the things that's important is to actually take that step back and to actually create the picture. So if you have got a specific goal, actually try and paint the picture and go, right, what does it look like? What do I need to do? What don't I need to do? And then thinking about your vision, are you able to articulate it into some of these headings here? You can see mission, vision and values, and you know, if there's anybody on the call that doesn't know about that, please drop me an email and I'll be more than happy to send you a one-pager which will explain those further. Fundamentally, a mission, vision and values is you articulating to yourself but also to the other stakeholders that are to do with your business who you are, why you do it and why you exist. And you know, using this as a plan on a page is a very, very simple and easy way just to make sure that actually everything that you are doing, is it the right thing? Are the strategies and the objectives that you've got, are they actually going to get you to your vision of where you see yourself in the future? So, you know, taking that helicopter approach and being able to challenge yourself is very, very important. Within organisations, one of the things they call it is the T-test. If I go into a large organisation that may be employing 20 more people, if I ask them to articulate to me, can you tell me what the vision is of this business, I would expect that the shareholders or the owners or the board know what the vision, mission and values are of the business. The interesting thing is that in the larger organisation, if you can go down to the lowest person or the least senior person within the business and challenge them and say, what's the mission, vision and values of this business? If they are able to pretty much articulate it, then that you know that you've actually got a business and that you know that you've got a culture where everybody is pushing and pulling in the right direction. And actually the interesting thing is that when you're able to create that culture is that you get a huge amount of ideas and input from everybody within the organisation because everybody's striving towards the same thing. I'm working with a client at the moment who has set Christmas 2016 Vegas. So they've got pictures and music and loads of different quirky things with regards to Vegas. The business have set a target, and if the business hits that target, every single person within the business plus partners will be going over to Vegas because that's the overall bought-in vision that everybody's buying into. Important to make sure that you're not compromising on the values in order to hit the target, but that's the role of the business owners and the management team to ensure that that is then pushing forward. And you know, the easy thing to do is to go into a business and ask these three questions. What is the overall business objective? So, you know, I should be able to walk into a business, speak to anybody within that business and say, what's the overall business objective? What are the immediate priorities, both from a business perspective, but also you, the cleaner within the business, what is your immediate priority? And within the high-performing businesses is that if I was to ask a cleaner, okay, so what's your immediate priorities? Well, Adam, my immediate priority is to make sure that the reception area is as clean as possible because whenever a prospect comes into our environment, it's my responsibility to make sure that I gave them the best possible impression. And if I can make sure that I give everybody the right impression and I'm friendly and helpful with that, then that means that I'm doing my job to the satisfaction. You know, and like it says, how are you contributing towards these priorities? When you can create a culture within a business where everybody feels happy and challenging, then that's very, very key. Create an outside-in organisation. The fourth C is your customers. I know it sounds a little bit obvious, but without our customers, then we probably wouldn't have a business. So if you look at product reviews kind of on Amazon and eBay, you know, the kind of raving fans perspective, you know, Facebook, Twitter, you know, LinkedIn, I always turn around to people and say to them, if you want to know about me as an individual and what I'm capable of, go and have a look at my LinkedIn profile. I've got over 150 recommendations of people that I've done business with. Them articulating and telling you what I'm capable of is much better than me trying to tell you what I'm able to do. I've also got video testimonials. You know, these things are very, very important. And I think it's important that you don't just sell your products. You've got to be looking at helping solving problems. What is it, again, that you're able to differentiate against your competition? How can you deliver your experience? Make it an experience. You know, at the end of the day, you are a service. Building that rapport, building that trust is going to be important, not only for this job, but obviously, you know, the reviews and the referrals are going to be the swing decisions within your businesses. So how can you ensure that you do that? One of the tactics which I've used in a previous business is to say, you know, look, I'm more than happy to work with you, but please be aware that any customer that I work with, I have a referral policy. So if you're happy with the work that I do, which you will be, so I'm confident in my approach, is that I will be looking for 3 referrals of people that you're going to put me in touch with, and I will also expect from you a written or video testimonial. Are you happy to do that? Now, some people feel comfortable in doing that, some people don't. It absolutely worked a trick for me, and it allowed us to treble our business within 2 years. So again, thinking about innovative ways, you know, I know that especially within the UK, we're a little bit more kind of reserved than our North American partners. But I work on a philosophy that if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's important to be able to be pushing from that perspective. The interesting thing is that a lot of businesses are customer-centered, or is your business customer-centered? If you look at this diagram here, you've got the boss at the top, you've got the staff working within the triangle, and you know, the customers are serving the staff, then serving the boss. My people work for me. You know, this is if you think about a lot of more traditional style businesses, this is where they come from. A lot of kind of the new modern businesses are very much working towards customer-centered. My people serve the customers. My role as the owner or the chief exec or the MD is to remove all barriers to their success. Now, if you can create that structure or that culture within your business, then you're definitely going to be pushing in the right direction. Okay, delivering wows. If you imagine, and it's probably potentially worthwhile you guys maybe doing this as an exercise for yourself, the core product is a hotel room, okay? So if you think about all the things that potentially would be expected of when you go and stay at a hotel, and what you expect that you're going to get from a hotel room. You know, TV, bed, minibar, towels, Wi-Fi, kettle, etc. It's now got to the stage where all of these things are expected. So, you know, obviously I appreciate it will depend on the amount that you spend on the room, but these are what's expected. So you walk into a hotel room and this is what you expect. Try and find what wows that you can offer as an individual or as a business. Okay, so if you take the idea of hotel, you know, some potential wows could be an overnight car wash, pillow choice, personal parking, spa sessions, concierge, free umbrella chocolates. The interesting thing is you'll see on kind of the outer wow circle, pillow choice has now become unexpected. So pretty much most hotels of probably 4-star standard, there's now an expectation that you'll go and you'll have the choice of a hard or a soft pillow. You know, free internet is an interesting one. Some hotels do it, some hotels don't. Personally, for me, I will only actually book a hotel room if I know that they've got free Wi-Fi. So for me, that now has moved into my expected space. So think about your product or your service, and actually spend some time putting what is expected from customers, but then also put some wows. And if you can find a way of putting these wows into place, then obviously it's going to help differentiate you against your competition. The interesting thing, a lot of those wows will not cost, or if they do cost, it will be very, very minimal, but the impact is going to be very, very big. Lead the organisation, let others manage. Okay, so you as the business leader you alone are responsible for the culture. You know, quote here from Bill Gates: as we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. Now, if you're a sole trader and it's just you and your business, then you're responsible for the culture. The culture is you. You need to make sure that you're showing up at every appointment, at every networking event, any situation that you're in, is that, your personality, your characteristics, your style, your method is going to, reciprocate on the sort of businesses that you're going to get. So it's very, very important that even if it's you on your own, is that you've got the right culture which fits with you as a person, within the vision and the values of your business. Coaching, that's the 6th C. The successful businesses have got a coaching style or culture within their business. Some of that is informal, some of it is formal. Obviously, if some of you have got apprentices or employees, you're coaching them, you're training them, you're giving them the skills, you're giving them the expertise. But it's important that you put some structure behind it. Also, make them aware. There's nothing wrong with saying that I'm coaching you to make you a better person, so that you're going to be able to assist and push this business forward. I spend a lot of my time coaching MDs, chief execs, other senior business leaders. We all need help. We all need to be challenged. It's important, in order for us to become better, it's important that we sit on the edge of our comfort seat. If things are too comfortable within your business, then you're not pushing yourself as much as you potentially could be. The 7th C is communicate. Obviously, how you communicate, where you communicate, is incredibly important. How engaged are your people? Interesting statistic here is 10% increase in engagement equals 1% increase in customer satisfaction. So this is done by a Gallup 12 survey, which is repeatedly done every 2 years. If you have got large amounts of employees, I would probably say if you're looking at 20 employees plus, definitely worthwhile looking at Gallup 12. Potentially worthwhile in getting somebody independent in to actually question and get some feedback as to how your staff are within the business. If you've got increased engagement, obviously you're going to get increased performance, you're going to get less sick pay, your productivity is going to get up, you can have increased loyalty. You're creating an environment where people like to be working. 12 questions when it comes to being engaged. Are you engaged? If somebody's engaged, they're loyal, they're productive, they find work satisfying. Not engaged, not psychologically committed to their role. They may leave if people are always looking. If somebody's not looking, it's because they're happy. And somebody that's actively disengaged is somebody that's actively looking elsewhere. So, of most businesses, these are the figures that people are working within. So, if you think about the businesses that you know or the business that you've got, if you've got 81% of people within the business that are either not engaged or actively disengaged, as opposed to a business where you've got people that are engaged, the engagement and the positivity on where the business is going to go, I know that I'd much rather be looking toward the higher up the chain. Now, if you have got these stats, fantastic. If not, it's definitely something that's worthwhile looking at. Here are the 12 questions. I'll just pick a couple of them just to kind of give you an idea. In the last 7 days, have I received recognition or praise for doing good work? So if you are a manager and you are managing people, in the last 7 days, have you actually given any recognition or praise for somebody doing good work within your team? Another question, in the last 6 months, has someone at work talked to me about my progress? So again, I would just, if you have got a team, I'd potentially be looking at these questions and looking at how you can integrate these within your reviews, or just get an idea of how you can push forward. A copy of this presentation will be available from Mark afterwards, so you'll obviously be able to have a look at the questions after. Okay, getting the right people on the bus. Hire for attitude, train for skills. Are you hiring managers that are trained in interview techniques? I do a very simple technique for the clients I work with for the senior roles, 3 by 3 by 3. 3 different people have to interview them at 3 different locations in 3 different interviews. This allows us to make sure that we're getting the right person, as well as being the right qualified person, that they're the right fit, that they're the right person that's going to sit on the bus. Very, very important to get the right people. I'm sure everybody on the call tonight or today has experienced of working with people that are the wrong eggs or the wrong people on the bus, and the negativity that that has within the business. My main job was developing talent. I was a gardener providing water and other nourishment. Of course, I had to pull out some weeds too. Again, one of the big problems with a lot of businesses is that they don't get rid of the weeds as quickly as they should do. If it was any other aspect of their business, they would be able to make a decision fairly quickly. But when it comes to people, because there's the personal issue, because it's it's about us and thoughts and feelings, it becomes a little bit harder. People want to hold on to people, hoping and thinking that they will change. Does a leopard ever change its spot? Definitely worthwhile looking at the people that you've got within your organisation. And finally, and probably most importantly, is to take care of yourself. You are the barometer of your business. When I'm doing my coaching sessions with my clients, I ask 2 questions to start with. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel business? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel personal? Because one will completely counterbalance the other. If things aren't going quite right at home, it will naturally have an adverse effect on how things are within the workplace. And again, I'm sure all of you have experienced and seen this with people that you work with. Who's supporting you in your state of mind? Who've you got to go to that's challenging you, supporting you, guiding you? Have you got friends? That are able to that? Have you got family? Have you got a mentor? Have you got a coach? I run 3 or 4 different peer groups within different sectors or non-specific. A great ability to be able to bring people together to share experiences, knowledge, issues, problems, opportunities. And it's very, very important to make sure that you invest in yourself. Again, spending the time tonight, hopefully you'll have picked up a couple of things that will just spark your thoughts, that will spark your thinking. Okay, so just reiterating the 7 core tasks of a business leader: understand the numbers, understand the risks, create the vision, set the direction, create an outside-in organisation, lead your organisation and let others manage, make sure you get the right people on the bus, and take care of yourself. And the 7 C's for the business leader: cash, credit, costs, customers, culture, coaching, communicate. Mark, that's me done. Have we had any questions come through?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Adam. I know you've kind of just skipped over that. We've had a few people apologise for having to leave and everything else, and some of it's going right over their head and things. But I've just kind of written down some stuff. Yeah, kind of little questions. You did mention that the presentation will be available, so fingers crossed we'll be able to put a link for them. I'm just kind of putting out on the chat board anyway. So if anything that you want me to post onto the chat there, if you want to send that to me, or if you can't post directly on the chat board to everybody yourself on there, please feel free on that, Adam. A couple little things really. You talked about building a relationship with your bank manager. Obviously lots of businesses are going through hard times at present and so on, and one of the people online today is. Have you got any real basic advice on how to approach and speak to the bank manager now, or is it too late?
I don't think there's ever a time that's too late. I think the main thing is that as long as the lines of communication are open, the better. If you're able to go to the bank and just be honest and transparent, unfortunately gone are the days where the bank manager had the power. But having said that, they still have a certain amount of leniency. Not necessarily a huge amount, but their decision-making process is still there. So if you're talking about an overdraft increase, or you're talking about credit function, The sooner you can have that conversation, the easier it will be. And if you're honest and upfront with them, then then they should be able to help you out. The other thing is as well is that you're all in a position to then potentially be able to turn around and go, look, if I can't, I think what I'm asking for here is not unreasonable. I potentially would be looking at going to another bank. Is that something that you're happy with? So you kind of, it's a little bit of a loose threat, but again, one of the things that they're targeted on is retention and new customers. And if they know that potentially they're going to lose you because you're going to go to another competitor, is that they will potentially have a little bit more leniency in being able to go to their funders or their people above them.
Brilliant. Just kind of a couple of people coming through here on the presentation again, Adam. Where can they get that from? Or are you posting that out?
If people want to drop me an email, so you can see my email up there, I'm more than happy to then send it out to them. I'll also send you a copy as well, Mark.
Perfect.
And then you can make that available.
And remember, you can link into you on Twitter as well, isn't it?
Yep, I'm Fresh Mindset 1 on Twitter.
Repeat that again. Fresh Mindset 1.
Fresh Mindset 1, all one word. And I suppose the interesting thing, yes, all of those things are my own personal opinion, but I quite often signpost to interesting articles that are written by other people that I know within the business community. A lot of them are often fairly quick snippets that are worthwhile kind of looking at, or just refreshing. I reckon I probably spend on average about probably 10 to 15 minutes a day either looking at YouTube clips or reading articles that are just with fresh new ideas and interesting conversations, just to get my mental stimulation going to start the day.
Brilliant. Okay, somebody was saying that first of all, somebody said that they're just about to get going in the business, and that was a real insight in looking at it from a totally different perspective than they thought about before. So thank you very much on that. They're saying, especially about all the kind of the C's and things. Really, they get that. It's great to kind of register it in your head. It's a light bulb moment at times, isn't it? Somebody says something to you, and you go, you know what? I knew that, but I hadn't really placed it, and that somebody's just saying that now. You placed it in their mind, so thank you very much on that. Somebody else picking up number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7 don't seem to be related to a one-man business at all. Any ideas on that?
Let me just go back to.
So we got the create an outside in, not an inside out.
Well, I suppose I would. I mean, with number 4, creating an outside-in organisation, okay, that might not necessarily be there. But if you are looking at growing, then obviously these are the things that are important. And I suppose taking care of yourself is absolutely important, because if you are the business, if God forbid something happens to you,
absolutely.
Have you got the necessary cover in place? Do you have key man insurance? Have you got your mortgage covered or payments, etc.? So actually, I would say that number 7 on there is probably the most important one, irrespective as to whether you employ people or not. And actually, when I look there at number 6 with regards to getting the right people on the bus, actually that's as much about the customers as it is about people, because you want to make sure that you're working with the right people that you want to work with, that are seeing the value that you're adding to their business. Because if they're not, you then just become a commoditized product, and anybody else can just be doing that and just providing a service and selling it. What you should be looking at is delivering value where people appreciate it, and I think from that perspective, actually, it builds self-worth in being able to build a bigger business, even if that business is you, for a sustainable period.
Can I chip on that and see what your thoughts on what I'm thinking about that for a minute? I mean, number 4, I can understand perhaps how they're kind of, oh well, it's not to do with me. I can get that, but again, if you kind of spin it around your own things, so we'll just ignore number 4 for a minute. But lead the organisation, let the others manage. If you're a one-man band, absolutely, at some stage you have to lead your company, and you have to take on different roles, and those roles still need to be managed by yourself. So I know it's kind of a a kind of a bit of a weird mind thing going on there, but you definitely have to split yourself into different characters. You know, today you're going to be a marketeer. I mean, social media is a perfect example of that. That at some stage you need to set out, okay, what am I going to be doing with social media? Am I going to be involved in it? I'm not going to be involved in it. Okay, I'm going to be involved in it. Well, what am I going to be doing at it? So instantly you're going to take a piece of you at a part of your day that is then going to do what kind of your head person yourself is telling you to do. You do have to split yourselves into little sections of flesh, and that is a kind of, for me, that's the way I look at it, because I think it doesn't matter if you're a one-man band or you run a huge team like you have and you do and I do. You've still got to kind of split yourself into different parts every day to allow you to get through the day. And as much as you can be a leader of an organization, leader of a team, you still are a part of that team in some way, and you still have to actually kind of get on. So that's my kind of reiteration to that kind of question on number 5. Get the right people on. Sorry.
Mark, can I just, just a couple of things on that. I mean, I do a lot of presentations on social media as well, and one of the things I always say is it doesn't make any difference how long you spend on it, as long as you're tracking and measuring it and you're able to get a throughput. So even if you're spending 5 minutes a day, as long as you know what the input or the output is going to be, then you're measuring it. I think the other thing is as well is that one of the things that's very, very easy not to do, but it's stuff that we should be doing, is there's a phrase called, eat the frog for breakfast. So when you are the business or the organisation and you are wearing those different hats, it's very easy to do the things that we like doing and the things that we're good at and focus on those first and foremost. And actually, it's very difficult sometimes to do the stuff that we need to do but we don't want to do. And actually, being a leader within your sole trader business is about actually eating the frog for breakfast, taking that thing that you don't want to do and go, do you know what, I've got to do it because I need to get this done and out of the way so that I can make sure that I get the other stuff that I want to do and I like doing later on in the day.
And how often do we put off eating the frog, really, and then when we eat the frog, it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be?
Absolutely.
Okay, getting the right people on the bus. Just saying for that for a minute. Just we've got a load more questions coming through here. Getting the right people on the bus. I was thinking that your wife or your partner is a perfect example of that, because if you're running a business and even your family are not on your team, you're not on your side, that is going to be a very difficult business to run, because unlike a job where you go out and you get paid and you come home and you have a family life, running a business is absolutely 24/7, and whether we like it or not, it completely takes over all thought. Everything that you discuss, whether you're in good times or bad times with it, it completely dominates you. So getting the right people on the bus there, I thought, because I'm still going back to this guy, this person who was questioning 4, 5, 6, and 7 on that, and I was thinking, no, I think you just missed it. That's all I'm kind of clarifying on that. And the same thing would be, the right lab you use, the right supplier of equipment should things go. You're the insurance company. The companies that you're involved in is as much to do with getting that right people on the bus. If you kind of take it away from what you were saying with it, and take care of yourself.
Just going back to number 6, Mark.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, go on.
It's also about getting the right stakeholders as well. So if it's a bank, or if it's a coach, or if it's a mentor, or the other stakeholders, suppliers or customers, everybody is, you need to be making sure that you're dealing with the right people that you want to deal with. Because if you're dealing with people that you don't like and you don't want to deal with, then it doesn't make the business particularly very interesting or exciting. One of the reasons why people go off and start their own businesses and become sole traders, or or employ 1 or 2 people, is because they want to be the ruler of their own destiny. Absolutely take that the bull by the horn. If it's your business, you're the one that's responsible. You need to step up. You need to lead for yourself and for your family, and find the right people that you want to work with.
Hmm. And I think you answer take care of yourself perfectly. In fact, even with the Photographer Academy, we don't have a number two, which is the equivalent of me in place, but we do have somebody who is ready to take over should anything happen to me, as well as obviously we've got the key person insurance to make sure that the team is led. If you're a one-man business and you're running a wedding kind of a business as such, who's going to do your weddings if you become ill? And there's a lot of little things. So again, sorry to kind of back you up on that, but I felt that 4, 5, specifically 5, 6, and 7 were absolutely on bang on, whether you're working for yourself or working for a big company or leading a big company as such. Okay, let's go through another question there for a minute. Somebody saying, just a great presentation, thanks. Do it in my day job, managing people, but so easy to forget when doing your own. So very good on that. Fantastic webinar. First was a new member, learned some invaluable information and some ideas on how to take my work and take my work forward as well. So very good on that one. One on the 3 C's here for the cash flow and about clients going bust. Any idea what somebody's just had a commercial client just going down on them? Any ideas where they should be looking at? Anything that you can do to be prepared for kind of hiccups in cash flow?
Yeah, I think, well, there's a number of couple of options depending obviously on the size of the commercial client. Obviously the payment terms and the is quite key. The interesting with a lot of people is that they bow down to what the customer is going to do rather than having their own terms. There's nothing wrong with being quite firm and say, we want X percentage deposit up front, and then it's stage payments, some on within the day of the job, and then X percentage on completion. So I think a relook at current terms is important. Now remember, if you set your terms to start with, most people will actually just take their terms. Some people will look to to negotiate. That's not a problem because you can counterbalance that. You can look at insuring some debt or some customers if you really are worried. I think the other thing potentially is to look at factoring, because you get a certain amount of insurance, but also from a cash flow perspective. And the other simple thing that I always do is to use some of the credit checking agencies. So there's a free one called DueDill, DueDill, I think it's .more.co.uk. If they are a legal entity company, then you can go in and you can check a certain amount of their criteria. So that will give you a greater understanding as to how are they trading as a business. I think if you can potentially use a combination of those, that will give you a greater idea as to understanding the customer beforehand. I think the other thing is that if you are quite strict with your payment terms with regards to we expect payment within 28 days. As soon as it gets to 26, you probably want to be ringing up going, just checking that payment's going to be is going to be made because it's going to be outstanding within a couple of days. A lot of people don't like speaking to people when it comes to money. If you don't feel comfortable, then find somebody that would be prepared to do it for you.
There's a few people saying here about number 4 does actually they've taken on that great response on that with it, so that's pretty cool. So they're backing you up on that number 4 now. What else we got there? Okay, the wow and the exception. As a okay, have you had a family portrait done in the past 2 or 3 years or 5 years, Adam, at all?
Yeah, I have one done every single Christmas.
Good lad. So what do you expect from it? And are they reaching your expectations?
I think that's a great question. The reason why I use the guy that I do is because he's friendly, he's approachable, I've got 2 young girls, he's very good with the girls. He knows and understands what it is that I want. And it allows us to go in and for it to happen very, very quickly. it's now become an expectation that we'll get a CD with all the images. So that's now an expectation, and if I was now to go to somewhere else, that's what I would expect. And I think it's just an understanding of what it is that we want and what it is that we require.
Brilliant.
You're now going to ask me about the wows, aren't you?
Yeah.
I suppose the wows would be, and I was probably thinking about my example earlier, was with regards to more of kind of, I was thinking about a wedding photographer. I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I actually got married abroad, but I would think if I had been married here, if the wedding photographer sent me an anniversary card or present or flowers or something, or even just something like, I mean, these days you can get printed a key ring or something like that relatively cheaply. You know, if you were to do that every single year for the 5 years after they got married, how wonderful would it be that, you know, that they get something each year, which is one of your products, which is a photo, just with a little note going, I really enjoyed the day, was just thinking about you the other week, remembered that it was your anniversary or your wedding, thought I'd just send you through this. I mean, that would absolutely make the day of a wedding client, and I guarantee that if you did that to 3, 4, 5 people, you would get more referrals coming through from those people, because they would turn around and go, you never guess what, my wedding photographer, who I've not seen for 3.5 years, he just sent me an iPhone cover because he knew I had an iPhone, and it got a picture of me in my wedding dress. I mean, it's simple things like that, which, you know, for the cost of a fiver, there'll probably be 2 or 3 referrals that will come off the back of it.
Even just taking that to simple social media, isn't it? If you posted on their page on their anniversary, as long as you know they're still married, that would help. But basically, just posting an image and just linking them on there and kind of remembering this date, that alone is just going beyond the call of duty without having to going out there and spending money. But I quite like the idea of that kind of follow on with the iPhone cover and things, which is a nice idea.
Well, the interesting thing with that, Mark, is if you do connect with somebody on probably Facebook, is that actually if you put one of the photos up on the anniversary date and you tag the husband and the wife, and if you do know you know, the best man and some of the bridesmaids, etc., is that what you're actually doing is you're then subconsciously reinforcing that day to everybody, and everybody's looking at an example of your work, and that's probably going to get, you know, you might tag 4 or 5 people, but you're also then going to get a load of likes as well from people that were there, and it will then people within their network will also then see that picture and they'll go, oh, I'm getting married in 6 months' time. Oh, Jenny, who did your photos? Because I really like that photo that they put up of you 3 years ago when you got married.
Exactly. I mean, that's good. And there's loads of people actually going here. Love the iPhone cover idea. And one of them just put at the end here, I think the iPhone cover sales have just gone through the roof. So you haven't got any connections, and if you do have a connection, please post it. Okay, let's kind of just bring it to the end for the last few questions anyway. I've really enjoyed this, Alan. Thanks so much. I like the idea, the way you were linking back to the apprentice as well at the beginning. I'm not sure if you were on the academy, but each year we do the apprentices. And they come and train with us, and kind of they do through some hard tasks and things. Really, everybody thinks I'm more like Simon Cowell than Alan Sugar, but anyway, that's a whole different webinar by itself. Okay, what do you think about small business groups? There's a question coming through as far as, you know, the breakfast meetings and things. You've got any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I have actually. I was a member of BNI. There are other networking groups available. I was a member there for 8 years, and I would say that it helped me grow professionally. It helped me grow my business. And I think that they're very, very good if you're the right person. I think you need to be of an individual where you're prepared to reciprocate, and you've got to be able to give before you get. But if you're prepared to give it a go, I think it's definitely a worthwhile of time and investment, especially if you are a one-man band, because it allows you to be understanding and meeting other business owners and sharing stories and just having some isolation relief. One of the big issues for a lot of people is that they don't have anywhere to go or to turn to. So creating your own network allows for that to happen. I would say that probably the best thing to do is to, if you are going to go into it, you need to be able to commit the time that the group needs you for. Some of them are mornings, some of them are lunchtimes, some of them are weekly, some of them are monthly. So making sure that you commit, because you don't want to let people down. And I would also set yourself a target of what you expect to get off the back of it. And as I say, that doesn't necessarily have to be commercially. It may well be, you know what, I'm not the best when it comes to presenting, so in a year's time I need to make sure that I actually feel comfortable in standing up in front of 25 people and basically doing my elevator pitch. If that's your goal or your target in a 12-month period, fantastic. So I would suggest that it's definitely worthwhile looking at finding the group that you feel comfortable and speak to other business owners that 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 you've done business with or you're doing business with, and a lot of them will already be in something similar that they'll be able to advise accordingly.
I agree with you on that. I used to belong to a few of them actually in the early years, and again, breakfast meetings and so on were absolutely worth every single minute I spent there. I think it brings you out of your shell a little bit as well. It makes you talk, makes you get up there and just say, hi, I'm Mark Clewell and this is what I do, and blah, 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 and if you're interested and so on. Those quick kind of couple of minutes, if they still do that, I think alone is worth going there, kind of thing.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark, just one last point. I now run peer groups for sort of chief execs, MDs of probably £1 million turnover plus. The fundamentals are very, very similar, and it's interesting actually. The higher you go up and the bigger an organisation gets, the lonelier you become. And for a lot of these guys, I have an environment now that they know that they can come to, that they can offload, that they can challenge each other, be challenged, and that they know that other people are going through the same sort of pains, issues and problems. So it's as relevant for small independents as it is up to, the largest company that I've got turns over 120 million. To be honest, a lot of the issues are very, very similar, and they fit into three categories. Cash, we've not got enough, we need more. We've got too much cash, we need to get rid of some. Growth, we're not growing fast enough, we're going backwards, we're growing too fast, we're not sure what to do, we need to control it. Or people, we've got the right people in the wrong jobs, we've got the right people in, we've got the wrong people in the right jobs, we need to recruit or we need to get rid. Or if you are an independent and it's just you as a sole trader, you may well be the issue. You may well not have the motivation or the drive or the determination to grow the business or for it to sustain your income. So I would say of all the people that I've ever dealt with is that actually, a lot of issues are very, very similar, irrespective as to the size of business that you are.
Cool. Right, a couple of last things, and then we'll end with the kind of the big question to go away with. Bit of advice here from one guy: don't apply for funding online. I work for a bank. Do it over the phone or face to face. If you can't get the funding, at least the bank will advise you what you need to do to go forward with it. We won't talk about banks and funding. That'll be a whole long conversation.
Well, it's funny you say that, Mark, because the interesting thing is that there is, and rightly or wrongly, the perception that banks are difficult to deal with. The interesting thing is that's what most people think. So actually, if you are the guy that goes into the branch and asks to see the bank manager and has that face-to-face or phone conversation, is that actually you're probably at an advantage because you're doing something that nobody else is doing. So they will give you the time of day. You might need to book an appointment, obviously, but actually they will be prepared. They do want your business, and if it is viable, they'll be happy to help you.
Exactly. I think one of the good things as well, once you start to build a relationship up with your bank manager, and they come out to see you and see your business, especially if you're running from, not so much when you're working from home, but if you're running from a shop premises or a business premises, they get to actually see where you work, and they get to meet your team, or at least kind of see what the client's going to experience going through with it. And again, it's kind of on your home turf as well, so you get a chance to actually kind of talk a little bit more about your business, your future planning, like we've been doing today, really. Okay, last one is, before I ask you a question, myself, people going on about T's and C's here. Any advice on where they can go and get? Obviously, we've got some. I'm sure if you get in touch with the office at the academy, we can give some ideas on T's and C's. But is there any where that you can point them to where they can plagiarize as a starter for 10? They say.
I think the Re-Guys business link. You might be able to find some. I think obviously if you've got the resource mark, that would be, especially because it's your sector, it's going to be more specific. So I'd definitely be signposting that way. I know it's a little bit cheeky, but sometimes what you can do is you can, inverted commas, have a wedding for yourself and ask your potential competitors for their terms and conditions. So actually what you're getting is you're getting the quotations. I call it the mystery shopper, and I did it on a number of occasions with all the businesses that I've ever ran, because it gives you a great insight not only to their sales pattern, but also you can get to see their literature, their terms and conditions. Now obviously if you are the sole trader, I don't advise you doing it, but you can always get a family member or a very close friend to kind of do the dirty work, if that's the way you want to call it. But the other thing is as well, to be honest, just search on Google photography T's and C's, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some stuff.
I don't think you even need to do it in disguise nowadays. Again, once you start to build up a relationship with the local other photographers, which fingers crossed you're trying to do that, I'd always recommend that you kind of try and be friends with as many of the local photographers as you could, because obviously you just never know when that proverbial's hit in the fan one day. You might need some help. And again, if you're all in the same boat together, of course, you know that you're kind of not kind of pitching against each other. Right, my question to you is, what can people go away from tonight and just put into operation straight away? What can they do from today's webinar? Any ideas?
Okay, a couple of things. I would suggest finding your make or break. So finding the KPI or the figure that you need to be doing as a business or need to be aware of on probably a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, that that you can find to go, my business is ticking over and I'm happy with the way it's going. Now that might be number of conversations per day, it might be number of new clients, it might be, there's a million and one different permutations, but I would seriously spend some time thinking on that. If you are a bigger business and you probably you employ a few people, I would just have a look at the people that you've got within your organisation and score them on a scale of 1 to 10, and just look at them quite objectively and just say, have I got the right people on the bus and within my organisation? And I suppose the last thing that I would say is that have a look at your balance between what's going on within the business and what's going on within the personal, and make sure that the balance is right, because if it's not, then something will give on either side fairly quickly.
Adam, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I've had a really great night again, even though I've listened to it before. I really enjoy it. Again, it's just I go to probably more business seminars than I do photography seminars now, because obviously what I have done for the past 15, 16 years probably, and again, and that's what I was trying to get through again when somebody asked about the business groups. I thought that's a really good point. I don't think I've ever talked about that on the Photographer Academy before, so it's a really good thing to do with it. But thank you, Adam. Anything you want to kind of push or plug or say before you leave us?
I'm more than happy for people to get in contact with me. We've got a regular newsletter. Okay, it's probably a little bit more targeted towards the tech space, but everything, as I say, every day is a school day, and actually the best lessons that I always learn are from sectors that I have nothing to do with, because if you can take the inspiration from what somebody else is doing and apply it to your own sector and space, is that actually that's when you become innovative and ahead of the game. So learning off other people in other sectors, in other walks of life, actually is sometimes more interesting than actually learning from your peers.
And what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Either probably best to just drop me an email, adam.harris@transmentum.co.uk.
Brilliant. I put the links through on there anyway. I didn't put your email address. It's better that I don't post that. At least if you say it out loud, it's not my problem, in case you got bombarded. We are recording tonight, so you'll be able to actually review this again in the next 7 days. That will be on the Photographer Academy, of course. Adam, thank you so much for your time. Fingers crossed we'll get you back again, perhaps, to actually talk about social media and just actually take it off to a different kind of level.